Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Um Today's date, December 7th of 2023, and an update. Earlier today, I made a, what do they call it, public uh, 1 hour video. And what was supposed to happen, I made one the other day, and it worked fine. What was supposed to happen was, once I made this 1 hour video, then I uploaded it and, marked it as public in one of the boxes that YouTube has. And then I could run it, and I would be watching it. Of course, it'd be what I recorded, I would be watching it, and people could log in to watch it also. And when they logged in, they'd be in the chat thing over here, and of course I could talk with that, we could see it. And, they could talk about stuff. Now, one of the options, which I didn't know about when I did it the first time, but it made sense. Well, I didn't even realize the first time when they announced it, I don't know, back a month ago, 2 months ago, whatever. I didn't really think about it very much. I didn't think they would have a chat. And not only that, I didn't think they'd have a thing where somebody could, donate money. So anyway, I made the one yesterday, and let's see, yesterday, okay. So, and it worked out okay. And then I made one today, early this morning, and so I recorded it. But what I wanted to do was turn off the ability for somebody to make a donation, because I didn't feel like that, the content and everything was, really where I wanted it to be. And a couple people, for the one the other day, I think 2 people or 3 made a small donation. So when I was, setting the things for this public video, I turned off the ability to make a donation. And then I uploaded the video when it was about an hour long. And I couldn't get into the public viewing thing with the other people. And so it just became a video like, like this video. I'm guessing that when I turned off the ability to make a donation, that kicked it out of the public classification or whatever. So I won't do that again, except I wonder if maybe once it was started as a public thing, I would think then that I would be able to go over to the chat thing and disable the ability to make a donation. What else? There's a whole bunch of little things. I'm using Verizon for my internet service now, and I think you've seen the thing sitting here. And 3 bars is the most you can get, and they said even 1 bar is fine, and 2 bars is fine, and 3 bars is fine. So I had it, sitting in here. Well, I've switched around in the beginning. Hey, I put it in the living room because that on that side is where the antenna is on a tower someplace. But I was getting, the 3 bars here. Sometimes it dropped to 2 bars. But then for the last couple of days, instead of me getting 250 or 300 down, I started getting like 50 down. And I thought, well, maybe it's for some reason a tremendous load on the internet service. Or I thought maybe they're having some trouble and they're just temporarily going to fix it. But it went on for at least 2 days and maybe 3 days. And then another thing popped up. The telephone service that we have, which is voice over IP. I recommend the company, by the way. I think you'll find someplace on my site where you can do business with them. Where you would need them would be if you had, say, Spectrum. So you had Spectrum service for the internet, and you were getting your high-speed internet that way, and something else, and you were getting telephone service from them. Well, I got really fed up after years of being screwed by Spectrum, and dropped the Spectrum service, and I went with Verizon. So when I dropped the, well, actually I could have continued that. They'd have been happy, just offering me, well, they're not happy because they want to screw you, and they can with, but I'm talking about, Spectrum. And so I decided, well, what's the point in having, Verizon and having, so of course, I set up with Verizon first for the for the telephone service. Did I say Verizon? Yeah. And so the problem is with our 3 phones that we have, and I don't want phones for making phone calls. I don't want one in my room. But I ended up, in the beginning, I moved the Verizon unit around, trying to find the best spot. And, in here where was the control box and whatever for the audio next to the Verizon. I mean, you didn't have to do it that way. You could run cable, but I didn't want to do that for that. So then what happened when a call came in, in fact, I didn't even have, I had the unit, but I didn't have a phone in it usually. But what happened if I did have a phone in the thing and a call would come in, it was extremely loud. And there really wasn't any, there was a mute switch, which I didn't want to mess with the thing very long, I'm guessing the mute switch would be to mute the conversation you're on or something. And so I thought, oh, to hell with it. I'm just going to, which I'd done before. I'd moved everything, I set it up here. Then I moved it into the living room, close to the big window, and I can't see the tower, but it's that, that way. So now I'm getting like 50 down here with three bars. And so I moved the Verizon unit and the telephone equipment into the living room in there and, hooked it up. Now for 2 or 3 days I was getting like 50 down, which I was getting, 300 down before, sometimes 250, whatever. But when I moved it from here into the living room and set it there and hooked up the phone, that's separate, but I hooked up the phone, then I was getting 250. So if you're using Verizon, and you probably have already messed with that, thing of moving it around. But, in here I'd been getting 300 or 250. And then all of a sudden I was getting 50, and I still had, you know, Darlene's watching, movies and all that kind of stuff. And in the living room, she has, the internet so she can play some very simple games that don't take any, uh, real resources or whatever. But when I moved earlier today, the Verizon unit in there, and hooked it up by the sliding glass doors, close to it, right away they went to 250 down. So if you're using Verizon, I mean, you're going to do the setup, and find the best thing. But keep in mind, you may get, I think you would get 3 bars, and you think, hey, this is good. But when you do the speed test, not good. And so you can't depend on those 3 bars, because I moved it from here where I was getting 50 for, 2 or 3 days, moved it in there, and immediately I got 250. So keep that in mind if you're using Verizon service. By the way, I've got a ton of old pictures. Here is cute kid, right? Well, that's me. Look what a cute kid turned into. And my dog, our dog, Lady. We went down there for the summer. My dad was helping build the H-bomb plant. He was a boilermaker and a welder. And so we traveled around a little bit in Georgia. Went to Savannah. Well, let's see, is Savannah, Georgia? I think so. We went there and then saw the ocean. That's the first time I'd seen the ocean. This is 7/14 of 1952, and it says South Carolina State Park. And because it was an H-bomb plant they were building. They had hundreds and hundreds of people from all over the United States working there. My father and the other workers who worked in a certain got a Q clearance. That's what it's called. You can look it up. It's for people who are not military and you're not engineers or something like that, but you're a worker, I guess, who maybe he's just welding or something, doing. But if you have information that's shouldn't be given out. Anyway, there were hundreds of trailers that were supplied by the federal government, and so there were trailer camps set up, and it was hot in Georgia, and I mean really, really hot, and no air conditioning on those trailers. So it was my father and mother. I call them Jim and Betty on my entire life, not father and mother or dad or anything like that. But my mother, so 52, let's see. Okay, in 52, I graduated grade school in 55. That would be the 6th and 7th grade. So, 5th grade, 4th grade, 3rd grade. Not 3rd grade, I'm older than a 3rd grader, I think. Maybe not. But, anyway, that summer I saw racism, Southern style here in the United States. Restrooms, male white, female white, colored male, colored female, and drinking fountains, colored and white. My Geechee Swamp, I think it is. I think that's what it's called now. Maybe I'm forgetting. We were in Barnwell, South Carolina. That's where the trailer park that we were in. Oh, I was going to talk about how hot it was. Really hot. No air conditioning in Georgia. And my mother, started telling me, go hose the trailer down, you know, with water to cool the place down. And I said, that's just going to make, I was just a kid, but that's just going to make it steam. That's just going to be steam is all, And she was yelling, spray the water on it. So I went out there and sprayed the water and didn't get any cooler. It's just steam rising. Too, what was interesting when I went down there, the kids that I, played with, now some of them were, local kids, and some were, like me, the family of some worker, who had come from no telling where, But I was from Missouri, so anyway, they asked me, what state are you from? And I said, Missouri. And I don't think I even knew then that Missouri, when the Civil War started, Missouri, the legislature or whatever voted to join the Confederacy. And there were already, government, federal forces, military forces in Missouri. They had camp, they had, whatever. So they just went over, and I think they arrested the governor, and I think, might be wrong on that, but they took over the state capitol, and so there were some Missouri militia forces or something, but they didn't engage in very much, But apparently those kids down there, if I'd have said, I'm from Illinois or New York or whatever, then they'd probably beat me up or something. But they heard Missouri. In fact, I think on the Confederate flag, there was even a star for Missouri, but Missouri didn't have much, A Union general in the forces that occupied, Missouri, if you look at the history of the Civil War or whatever, whoever the general was for that area, Union general, there were a bunch of rebels or whatever, I guess, out doing, whatever rebels do, And so he issued a general order number, I forget what the number was, but it's kind of famous. And that was to move the Missouri people out of that area. So people had farms and homes and that kind of stuff, and he did that, and they moved him out, and so it's down like, this, in the history books or whatever, that General so and so issued General Order number such and such, and that was that he shouldn't have done that. That was not a war crime, I don't think, or anything like that, but he shouldn't have done that. It's kind of funny. Guess it wasn't funny to the people it happened to. Now, of course, Jesse James and his brother, Frank, they were from Missouri. If you've seen, movies, old movies, cowboy movies, westerns or whatever, that's where Jesse James was from. We actually lived, for part of the time, we lived in the part of Missouri right there that was in that area that during the Civil War people were forced out of there. I'm going through stuff and throwing stuff away. I threw all my ministry stuff away. Long story. You probably should have. But one of the things that I did, SWL Marketplace. That was my little company, and I don't think I was out of high school when I, was doing this. I don't believe. And here it says SWL News, Listeners Magazine, printed photos, illustrations, article, the only listeners magazine in the world. The editor, James J. Howard. contributing editor David Drummond, Bob LaRose, Richard E. Wood, Jim Cody, and Jim Cody has a UK ham radio license ID after it. At Last, a magazine for listeners, $4 a year in North America, $5 elsewhere. Order SWL Publications, post office box, and he gives the post office box and everything. I didn't look bad in this picture. I've mentioned before, I guess I look like a nerd or whatever. I mentioned before that, sort of teasing, and not teasing, sort of truthful, that I was a cute, baby, and I was a cute toddler, and I was a cute up until the time that I was getting interested in girls, and I was hoping girls were getting it, and they weren't, because I was not a cute kid anymore. Here's this other page of this brochure. I had a company that printed up log sheets and something else, and people could buy them from that company. And I got, money for, 100 sheets or whatever it was. You can order our logging forms and reporting letters from our agent, see below. SWL logging forms, 100 sheets, 8.5 by 11, 3-hole punched. These handy log forms are designed for practical shack use. A must for shortwave listeners. Order today, don't delay, blah, 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 blah. And there's some more information. This Gopher Associates in New Jersey. I designed these log sheets, and a few years ago, they were still selling exactly my log sheets, and I think something else that I designed. But when I went to work, as a welder and boilermaker and what have you, I continued my hobby of shortwave, listening and all that kind of stuff. But I just let the company. There was no communication or anything. But, I just let them not send me money anymore. There's no date, or is there? Did I see a date? Because I think I mentioned something. No, that was a thing in Georgia. So what else? Let's see. So, okay, I got the internet service, okay, and the equipment's in the living room back in a corner. I'm hoping that my son doesn't mess with it. And I'm hoping that, of course, our living room here is, when I lived here, when my grandson and I came from Miami here, we moved into a one-bedroom, one-bathroom apartment up above where Darlene lived over here. Now, she'd lived here for years and years and years. And so we moved in upstairs. And after, a year, 2 years, 3 years or something or other, I rented this place over here. 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and whatever. So it was just my grandson who was in his room, interested in only the, although he worked at Sears and became right away a manager. I guess first as one-level manager, then he was not the manager of the entire place, but up there. And but anyway, the living room here, there was nothing in the living room. Except I did fill 2-liter bottles of Coke with water and put them around the edge, so in case of some type of disaster, at least we'd have water. When Darlene and my son, when they moved in here, Darlene was, and my son chimed in on it. You know, why have you got this water? And Darlene says, you know, I'm not going to drink that water. You know, I said, well, if we lost water, you probably, would. No, I'm not. I never drank it. Kind of ridiculing me, which was not new. And I said too, in order to flush a toilet, you need water. And if there's some type of thing, she still just kind of made fun. I could hear her on the phone occasionally talking to, or other kids or whatever, our kids, So anyway, I just dumped it all out. So, but the point is, then that place was fantastic. Looked great because there was nothing in there. And the manager of the apartment complex here, who was the manager before I came here and before Darlene moved in here, when she wanted to show somebody an apartment, I mean, not for rental purposes, but when she wanted to show somebody an apartment, or it was insurance people who wanted to get an idea of they were for the insurance, or they were going to make some changes or something, the manager would bring them over here and to show them the place because that looked so great, Now, and of course very quickly after that, well, for quite a while until, but I mean that it looks like a bomb hit in that living room. There's all kinds of computer equipment and box of cat litter, I mean, not dirty cat litter, but I mean, just everything is in there. It's a disaster area. So, let me show you a few more pictures. Okay, here's Jim. That's my father. Not a very good picture. Well, I can't get it into. And our Labrador Retriever. Okay, this is my kids, but very young. Not a very good picture. Here's Hillary. At Lake Jacomo, I think, in Missouri. Here I am, and her name is Betty, but she was my mother. Here I am in 1953, so that's the same time that we spent the summer in Georgia. Oops, let's see. I really need to scan these and, then get rid of them all. Let's see, there's Darlene with our baby. Here I am with LaDonna in the background in 1982. So someplace in that picture, but you don't see it, is Howard's Notebook. That's when it started in 1982. Let's see. Here I am with, I think that's me. That's Betty, my mother's father. That might be her brother, Bill. Betty's father was a member of the Klan, but back then, seems like everybody in the United States, seems like all the men in the United States were members of the Klan back then. If you go look up history or whatever. Here I am in 1949 on horseback, right? That was Betty's, that'd be my mother. That was her her father had a sister, and that was the sister. She married somebody, and they lived on a farm, and she was really nice, and her husband, of course, was just kind of quiet. He must have had like 15 coon dogs. I guess to hunt whatever coons are, you must made it. I guess they chased after it and barked or whatever. Here we are, 1952, and I think this is. Did I say 52 was when I was in? There I am. Let's see if I can. Ooh, there we go. And I think, probably I'm wrong, but I've got a toy cap gun, a rifle. And we lived in that trailer park. And I was out by the road, just pointing it across the road or whatever, and a car comes down there and slammed on the brakes. I thought, oh shit! He thought it was a real gun. Okay, I don't think 1952. Yeah, this is. Okay, there. That shows you how the federal government was not supplying really great accommodations for those people helping to make the H-bomb. Here's another one. Barnwell, South Carolina. Let's see. Whoops. I need to scan them. I need to hook my printer up too. I disconnected because I moved everything around. Okay, I can't show you that picture. I was married. We were married for 6 years. She was 18 when we got married, and I was 26. And after 6 years, she decided she didn't want to be married to me anymore. And so she separated from me for a short period of time. And then she came back, and I had a Polaroid camera, and I took a couple pictures of her. And you can't see that picture. Unless you make I'm kidding. Generous donation. It's not full. It's not a. One of her breasts is showing. Then 6 years later, when she wanted a divorce and got a divorce or whatever, and then she was. Then she called me, Jim, you remember those 2 pictures you took of me? I'd like to have them. Because I think she was calling into a phone dating line or something. I don't think it was a printed one or whatever. And so I looked, and I found one of them. But it was not one with a tit hanging out. And then I could tell she was, find that other one. She wanted the other one. And I couldn't find it. And I go through, I've moved many times, and I, find pictures, and stuff. But then I just ran across, going through some pictures or whatever, and looking for pictures of my oldest daughter, because she's doing a TikTok thing, and doing well, by the way. I think someplace below on my site you'll find a link where you can go there. And if you're interested in plants, not so much indoor plants, but outdoor plants and yards and stuff like that, she's just really smart. And I can say that because she didn't get her smarts from me. Here's 2 pictures of me in California, 1943, during World War II. And here's one where I was a cute kid, wasn't I? Yeah, cute kid. That's a gum machine. I actually did a search for like gum machines from back then, and I found out a bunch. That was my teddy bear, Rosebud. It wasn't named Rosebud. February 6th of 1943. Here I am, putting the penny in the machine. Here's my mother, her father. He was a member of the Klan, but like I said, it was just, seems like everybody was. But he was divorced from his wife, and he positively refused to pay 1 penny of, so he had 2 kids, my mother, and then he had a boy, and so it was Bill and Betty, or Elizabeth, I guess, and he refused to pay any kind, and it was during the Depression, and he refused to help in no way. He would not help, and he had to go to court, from what they say. I mean, I wasn't around then, but he went to court. I'm not sure how many times he went to court, but the judge ordered him, you will, whatever. He never paid a penny. Maybe the judge was a member of the Klan too. Here is our wedding picture. That's me, the skinny one, and that's Darlene. You can just see the tips of her crutches there underneath her arm. So she got polio. She got polio when she was 5. Then right after that, the shot came out. When I was in grade school, I graduated in 1955. That I know of, one girl in there. She was a big girl, and so that'd be the 6th and 7th. They combined the Catholic school in order to save some money. 6th and 7th grade were combined, but not in the public schools, But but anyway, that girl came down with polio, and then couldn't walk. And years later, I saw in the newspaper, the local newspaper, that she, the story of, a girl who wanted to walk with her father down the, and so the father built like a skateboard or something, and, and she went down that way. She was a real nice girl. That was Catholic school. Everybody there was real nice. We didn't know shit. I don't know what the public schools were like, but we didn't know anything. We even said some words that we didn't know. I was going to tell you, I better not do that. Somebody will get upset. There was a way back then that, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and then it went on. And so if there was a bunch of us, we were going to pick for baseball or something, or whatever, in grade school or something. One manager might pick, any meeting, he's going to pick want this person, whatever. And the first few times that we were all white except maybe for 1 or 2. And there wasn't any discrimination against him in Catholic school. And I don't think there was any discrimination against, against him at all. I mean, well, I'm sure there was, but uh, the first few times that, okay, we're going to pick somebody for, you know, for this, or, whatever, who's going to be the, and when the boy started eeny, meeny, miny, mo, inside, I didn't realize, I didn't think about it, but when he started saying it, or when they would start saying it, I'd be like inside, like, oh shit. But the white boy knew not to say the N word, and so it wasn't said, So, but when I went in 1953 or whatever it was to South Carolina, I saw what racism was really like. When my mother and we went out there for the summer. My dad was working out there at the H-bomb plant. And so we got on the train and we rode from Kansas City to, and I might be wrong about the, Nashville. Or maybe it was to some other place because there were some mountains there. And that's where we changed trains. So we got there, and then we got off the train, and then they said, you go to the waiting room, And so then we had to go a little ways. We didn't have to rent a car or anything like that, but we went over and we got in the railroad terminal there or whatever, and we're sitting down, and then the guy who, I'm not sure if he sold tickets or exactly what he did, but he worked there. He came over and he said, "You're not allowed to be here. You're in the colored waiting room. You need to go over in that waiting room over there." So we went over there. So it started, And then when we got to Atlanta, I think it was, by train, Jim, my father, was to meet us there, with the car, and wasn't there, wasn't in the waiting room or whatever. And I think I went outside and walked around the place looking for the car and didn't see him. But apparently he was sleeping in the car. And I think he'd been drinking. And so we had to catch a bus or something, a city bus. And got on the bus and went and sat down in the back of the bus. And the bus driver starts driving, and then he stops the bus. And then he walks back to us and he says, "You're not allowed to sit here. This is for colored only. You need to sit in the front of the bus." And so we went and sat in front of the bus. So that was our introduction as Northerners or whatever. Okay. I wanted to show you something. I wonder if I can show you something without giving away, because it's in emails. Okay, I think what I ought to do is come back here and then go to email. And where is email? Oh, okay, I can delete this actually and run the email program. And let me check this out to make sure there's nothing that's going to get me into trouble. Okay, here is LaDonna's, my daughter's TikTok site. I'll put the link below. But I do, if you're especially interested in plants and your garden, and not so much as a food garden, I think, but more it's a whole bunch. She's got a whole bunch, and she's doing really well. She's doing better than I'm doing with, with YouTube. She's actually making some money. It's because she's talented. Okay, let's see. I'm turning it up. Oh, I got it on there. Cranking the volume up. Oh, I guess it's not running yet, okay.
Allow me to introduce you to my child. Her name is Violet.
I hear something in the driveway. That means the car is parking. I see she's coming my way, so big puppy starts barking. Just outside the front door, I can hear those keys are jingling, and I can't wait anymore, so the puppy starts to sing. When mom comes home, it's the happiest feeling. I can jump through the ceiling when mom comes home. Oh, when mom comes home. Oh, when mom comes home. When mom comes home. Oh, when mom comes home. When mom comes home.
That, of course, will mean a copyright hit for me. I think it's so ridiculous that you can't. That was 1 minute, by the way, and it'll register as a copyright hit. I really don't care, but so let's see what else. I better switch back over here, and let's see. I think I can close this. I think I better leave it so I can comment. Okay. YouTube comment. So here's a comment about James, the raccoon, whatever. Yeah. Let's see. Here's a lady. As a fellow Canadian, I have always thought he was a dick, talking about the raccoon. I only saw a few of his videos, and then he mentioned he was an ex-cop, and that explained everything. Oh, okay. So I'm still getting a few comments about him. Let's see. Let me go back because I'm not sure what this is going to. Oh, I'm already back. Okay, wait a minute, a second here. YouTube membership. Oh, okay. Let me go back over here. I set up in the beginning when they offered it as part of my YouTube site a members only section, and I think I set it up at $5 a month, and I think only a couple people signed up for it. I didn't really want anybody to sign up for it, and I made it where they couldn't sign up for it, but somehow I think a couple people signed up for it. But the advantage I see to that is there is information I could put on there that I don't want some people to see, my family. And and the only way I could think to do it, I don't think they would spend $5 a month, so that would keep them out of there. But what if I had to raise it up to? But I don't think either one of them, my ex-wife or my grown son, would. Let me pause this because he's laughing in the background hysterically. Just going to pause it for a while. Okay, I'm back. I've got some chicken and fries in the oven. It's going to be 22 minutes before it's ready. And this has been talking for 50 minutes, so I'm going to talk for, I think, another 10 minutes. I'd like to be able to be more open about some things, but I can't do it. And but that's the reason I set up really the community room that's private, and you have to pay to get in. Of course, I could make it any amount, but I can't think of anything that I put in there other than stuff that I don't want the family to hear. So let me reach for a few more pictures. Oh, you're not there. Okay, let me leave it like that till I come back here. Okay, I'm back. Here's my father. September of '73 with their dog. Here I am. I don't know when, but not a bad picture of me, because I don't really take a good picture. Of course, I'm really, really bald. That's I forget what these are. They're not sure it's been taken out of the package. Oh, I think it was for opening up a cell phone that had battery problems or something. A little thing that slides and pops it open or something. I think that's what it was. Anyway, let me put this over there. Picture from school, grade school, my kids' grade school. Okay, I need light for this. I think this is 19, let's see. I think this is my father went to the seminary, but he looks, I think, a little too young to be in the seminary. He didn't stay. I can't read it here. October 19th, 1927. Tom Daly, Frank Daly, Bill, I think, I can't read it, Jim Howard. I've moved so many times that throwing a lot of stuff away. The Boy Scouts back then, when I was a Boy Scout, the scarf was just a little scarf. But the one they had back in those days was, good grief. Here's some more pictures of them. Maybe a little closer or something, I'm not sure. Families then were large. They were, Catholic families. And when my dad, and there's the Daly family. The other family was the Huber, and my father went to the seminary when he graduated from grade school, and went with Huber, and Huber went on to become a priest, and then he was the priest who was, and he went to, when he got out of, at some point he turned up at De La Salle, or at St. Vincent's, which is a parish, local parish, and that's where the family lived. And his family and my family and whatever. And so when I was going to grade school, Father Huber was there, and he had gone to Conception Seminary with my father, but my father ran away from there to get home. I guess I could throw this away because I don't remember now. Let me tell you, I mentioned that before, if your mother or your father, wants to show, they're old and they want to show you the pictures of the past or whatever. I don't know how many times my mother, would say, "Oh, Jimmy, let me show you these pictures, of the family." And she had a ton of them. And this is my son from 1989. He spent about a year or whatever living in Texas with his, that'd be his aunt, I think, Darlene's half-sister, who trans to a man eventually. So, and that's a Mercedes, by the way. But he wanted to come back anyway. I mean, his aunt, hey, stay another year or whatever, and, I'll get you a Mercedes. I'm not sure she actually said Mercedes, but she was getting him a nice car. She had here I am in 1950. I think at this point I was just beginning to, not be really, really cute, about 1950. So I was born in 41. So what would that make me, 11? Or 9? Yeah, it's too late to be doing the, but here's my mother in 1952, of course, and at the Barnwell State Park. That's that same day, I think, or whatever. That's some other. I showed you some other pictures. My father and I and a Boilermaker co-worker of his were on the Geechee River, which is part of the Geechee Swamp, I guess. And there were, I don't know if they were alligators or crocodiles or whatever, except they were looking at us and they were hungry. And both my dad and his friend were both drunk, and I was on the rowboat with them. And I didn't think we were gonna, I just accepted my fate, that I was gonna be eaten by a alligator or a crocodile. And okay, I guess eventually I'll have to throw this away. I think one of the people in this is, I think, my mother's father. So I'm not sure who the other man was. Here's a picture. No, that's me. And that's me and my mother's mother. She had a total heart block, which that's what I have now, by the way, and I'm on a pacemaker. But back then, when you had a total heart block, that was so. And my mother was, in grade school or whatever, and once a year, the General Hospital doctor would come by and pick her up and take her to, show the doctors there at the General Hospital, and, say, here's the case, and total heart block or whatever. And so she wasn't expected to, well, she raised my mother, and then now she took phenobarbital, which is addictive or whatever, and she'd take an overdose to make her feel better or whatever, and but when I was in first grade, she came to live with us, and so I called her mom because my mother called her mom, so I called her mom, and she read to me all the great, Treasure Island, and you name the, Tarzan or whatever, all those books, she read them to me. And, later on in time, people said, that's really, not talking about my case or anything, but, when you're young, having somebody read to you or reading yourself or whatever. So, the whale book and all that stuff. She read all of those. She loved Arthur Godfrey. He had a television show during the daytime, and it was very popular, and she just loved, she just loved him, so she would watch that. I went to kindergarten at a public school, and then after that, Catholic schools. And so from kindergarten, my parents bought a house then, and so I was going to Holy Name grade school, and I was a first grader or whatever, and the boys chased me home, and I guess because I ran, they chased me home. And so when I got there, Mom, she was waiting for me or whatever, and then she, stopped me or whatever, and she had me break a thing off the tree, and went over and she stripped the things, and then she whacking me on the legs or whatever, spite them, whatever, and I did. I didn't, I didn't have any more trouble with the kids because they were like, man, I don't know whether they knew it was my mother or my, or grandmother or what the deal was, but anyway, I didn't have any more trouble, Anyway, my job and at that age or whatever was to she couldn't be trusted to so I was the one who would administer, give her I'd keep her pills, her phenobarbital, and then give them to her when it was time. And she had a little bell too that she could ring. So also during second grade, she'd let me stay home from school, and so the nuns flunked me the second grade, so I had to repeat the second grade again. But I'd wake up and Mom would say, how do you feel? And I don't feel very good, I think. And she said, oh, you better stay home. So I stayed home. And so I think maybe it was third or fourth grade. There's some pictures here of me at the cemetery. And I remember she was sleeping in what should have been like my room. She stayed in the living room with a bed there. And I don't know how late it was, but I woke up, and my mother was taking her to the hospital, and you know, she didn't come home that time. That's when she died. I can remember being at General Hospital, and they didn't allow kids. Would she be a patient in there for her heart or whatever? And I remember, staying down on the ground floor or whatever, and they had a little, like a curb inside the hospital, and I'd sit there. And once I was sitting right there, and it was right across from the morgue, and then I'd see a cart coming down, but covered up, and and then it would go in there, and then finally the door was open or whatever, and I looked in, and I thought, oh my God, that's the morgue. But okay, I've talked for an hour and 6 minutes, so please give a thumbs up. Please follow one of my links. Please subscribe. Do something. And I appreciate you watching this video. Let me know if you'd like to see any pictures. I really should scan them and be in better detail and that kind of stuff. But I'm lazy. Got a bunch more pictures. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.